So the Goodwood Revival this year was on the weekend of the 9th and 10th of September. Slightly earlier than usual, but I think it's the biggest one yet. So we've been going for the last 25 years from the first one, which happened in 1998. But this year the crowds were enormous. It was sold out over the 3 days, and I think that meant it was over 150,000 visitors attended. We were there early on each of the 3 days because my wife was very much involved in the Revive and Thrive village.
There it is! Happy birthday, 54 and fabulous, is it not?
Absolutely, 54 years young.
Although there are many vintage distractions around the circuit, the motor racing is still the heart of this event. And the first one that we caught was the Goodwood Trophy. There were 10 ERAs in this grid, and although they're pre-war, they always seem to dominate. But really, what was of greater note was that there was not only the BRM V16 racing, but also an Alfa Romeo 158. Strictly speaking, the BRM is a continuation car built by Hall & Hall, who are based at the old BRM works in Bourne in Lincolnshire. They've called it chassis number 4, and it now revs up to 11,000 RPM, creating that glorious sound. The Alfa 158 has Peter Greenfield at the wheel. It was built by the team at Jim Stokes' workshop, and it's built around mostly original parts. There were incredible cars all through this grid, including a Bugatti Type 59 with the piano wire wheels. Mark Gillies at the wheel of ERA R3A has won this race several times, and yet again he thought he had it all his way, but the Alta of Ian Baxter pinched it from him at the last moment in one of the greatest finishes we've seen in a long time, winning by just 0.103 of a second. Here's Ian Baxter's Alta that took the winning laurels, a 1937 car. They always had a reputation for being unreliable, but we had an Alta engine in our HWM and it had very few problems, and it's great to see the ERAs broken up by another car created by Geoffrey Taylor in period, and really another one of those unsung heroes of British motor racing. And of course the incredible BRM V16. It is a continuation, but still a remarkable thing to see. Only 1.5 litres, of course, and the pistons are tiny. And the Alfa 158. Incredibly, these cars first appeared in 1937. Also only 1.5 litre, and they were producing about 190 bhp at 6,500 RPM. But when they finished in their last incarnation in around sort of 1950, they were producing 450 bhp at 10,500 RPM. So an incredible amount of development went into those cars. And of course, they really suffered from fuel consumption when they were creating all that bhp, twin supercharged, of course. Wonderful Alfa 8C Le Mans. Great to see it in the British racing green, quite a rarity. And an Alfa Monza with the Scuderia Ferrari badge on it. So this was one of the works races, which makes it a very special Alfa indeed. Julian Majube's Alfa 308, designed, of course, to beat the German auto unions and Mercedes, which unfortunately it didn't quite succeed in doing, but a fabulous car all the same. My great-uncle's ex-car, the ERA R7B. We caught a bit of the Levant Cup, which this year was a remarkable grid of Ferrari GT cars of a type that raced between 1960 and 1966. I managed to get behind the pits for the Fordwater Trophy, which this year was for Porsche 911s built before 1966. And it was fantastic to get close and witness the pit stops and the driver changes. All the cars were running on a new synthetic fuel, which in my mind really does point towards the future of historic racing and how it's going to survive. The wonderful Tajero Buick with the Buick V8 engine in the back. Originally, I think it had a Coventry Climax engine. Then it was the Whitsun Trophy, which was a 25-minute race for unlimited sports prototypes. It's basically a battle of the V8s between the GT40s and the Lola T70s, but it was actually James Davison who came out on top in his McLaren Chevrolet. I thought this was something very special, which was on display in one of the paddocks on the outside of the circuit. It's the 1927 land speed record holder, the Sunbeam 1000 HP, also known as the Slug, but it achieved 203 miles an hour on Daytona Beach in 1927 with Sir Henry Seagrave at the wheel. This is the original car. That's the chassis and body. It hasn't got an engine in it at the moment, but this is a real piece of history, and you could literally go up and touch it. But that was on display, being taken out from the National Motor Museum at Bewley. You see it on the posters, and I'm sure most people have read about it and the dramatic pictures, but here it was in the flesh, as it were. The main race of the weekend, the RAC TT Celebration race, is always early in the afternoon on the Sunday. And remarkably, this year, on a really hot weekend, the temperatures were really high. I think Saturday was the hottest day of the year. But during this race, there was a downpour and it caused havoc. And so we're catching it here at the restart. Cut 7 there, the very famous Jaguar E-Type. And you can actually see on a number of the cars damage to the bodywork because of the various excursions off the circuits in the wet weather. That's Alex Brundle there in the Cobra number 94.
You prefer to be in this than the Cobra, no?
I think I just don't think. I try to be on track, and you know, it's all about getting the traction out of the corner. You know, the style is the same for.
We'll take the restart. The RAC TT gets on the way once again. And it's
What came to light and listening to the drivers being interviewed was that the Cobras just really struggled to get all that power down, and the E-Types actually had the edge when the race finally got underway. It was an E-Type that took the checkered flag in the end, and it was Andy Prio at the wheel of that wonderful looking E-Type, which is run by Valley Motorsport. Ollie Bryant and Marino Franchitti sharing the Bryant Cobra, they came in second, and it was the Cut 7 Jag E-Type coming in third.
We were watching the on-boards, so there was literally nothing more you could do.
No, it was literally at the end of the grid as I found out when it first came down, so I was...